The rental car bumped down the private lane into the Monterey Bay community, and right away, the ocean air felt wrong, tainted by some cloying, cheap floral perfume that had no business mingling with the scent of salt and cypress. I walked the stone path toward the sunroom, my business heels digging into the soft earth, my leather briefcase feeling heavier with every step. I could see them through the panoramic glass. My mom standing by the counter, her eyes red and puffy as she aimlessly polished a single water glass over and over. My dad was slumped on a wicker chair, his hands shaking so violently that the ice in his tumbler chimed like a frantic little bell. And then I heard her voice, Chloe's voice, sharp and saccharine, cutting through the quiet. "Get out," she chirped. "This is a private experience for our guests now." My brother, Leo, was lounging against the wet bar, arms folded, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. A small group of tourists stood around awkwardly, holding their wine glasses. I used the service key I kept and pushed open the side door, the one meant for gardeners and maintenance crews. The hinges groaned, and every single person in that room turned to look at me. A silence descended, thicker and more oppressive than the coastal fog. My name is Alexandra Pierce, but you can call me Alex. I'm 35 and I'm a corporate attorney who finalizes million-dollar property deals before most people have had their first coffee. Just 2 weeks ago, I gave my parents the keys to this Seaside cottage, a $500,000 property, paid in cash, as a gift for their 40th wedding anniversary. I'd set the whole thing up in secret, an ironclad trust in their names, the HOA fees prepaid for 2 decades, the fridge filled with their favorite Chardonnay. I just wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to wake up to the sound of waves instead of the dread of another bill they couldn't pay. I never said a word to anyone else in the family, but now Chloe was waving a laminated experience schedule, like it was a scepter, and Leo was stuffing a tip jar that was already overflowing with cash. My mom's voice was a faint whisper, barely audible. "Alex." My dad wouldn't even meet my eyes. I stepped all the way into the room, letting the door click shut behind me. The nervous laughter died on the spot. And that's when the truth finally walked in. Drop a comment if you've ever had a family member take a heartfelt gift and turn it into their own personal cash grab. Did you let it go, or did you put your foot down? I want to hear your story because I have a feeling a lot of us have been in this exact spot. Growing up in a cramped house in Bakersfield, the kind with vinyl siding that would peel in the summer heat, taught me a thing or two about how quickly money can vanish. My dad, Robert, was a mechanic, fixing farm equipment until his body just couldn't take it anymore. My mom, Susan, graded essays for the local high school late into the night, trying to keep our lights on. I was the kid who was poring over the family budget when I was 12, already all too familiar with the terrifying difference between a friendly reminder and a final notice. My brother Leo came along 3 years after me. He was born with a charming smile and a head full of grand ideas that never quite managed to take flight. While I was cramming for my law school entrance exams in the university library, subsisting on vending machine snacks, he was bouncing between dead-end sales jobs that always promised the world but only ever delivered a termination letter. Law school felt like being buried alive under a mountain of debt. I clawed my way out by working as a clerk through the night and eventually landed a junior associate role in San Diego, which meant a brutal 4-hour round-trip commute every single day. I'll never forget it. I was in the parking garage right after closing my first significant case when Leo called. His car had died again, and he needed $1,000 right now, or the repo man was coming. I sent it to him from my phone without a second thought. That phone call set the tone for the next decade. He decided he wanted to get into real estate, so I sent him $2,000 for the licensing course. He failed the exam. I sent another $1,000 for him to retake it. Then came the brilliant idea for a startup selling artisanal dog collars. $5,000 for inventory that ended up molding in his apartment storage closet. I kept telling myself I was helping my family, that this was just what you do. I wasn't enabling him. I was investing in him. And then Chloe entered the picture. Leo met her at some social media marketing seminar in Los Angeles. She was an aspiring influencer who was obsessed with brand aesthetics and follower counts. Their wedding mood board looked like a catalog for unattainable luxury: a cliffside ocean view venue, a 5-course meal, a live band. My parents, bless their hearts, offered their small backyard. Chloe just laughed. The venue deposit was $8,000, which I covered from my annual bonus. The custom-made dress needed another $3,000 in alterations. The honeymoon to an all-inclusive resort? I sent them $6,000 just to make sure they had fun. My phone became a constant stream of notifications. A ping from Chloe for a new camera lens to improve her content. A ping from Leo for a networking trip to Las Vegas. I just kept transferring the money, trying to smooth over the chaos of their lives with my hard-earned cash. By the time I turned 35, I was on the fast track to becoming a partner at my firm, closing massive commercial real estate deals all over the state. Meanwhile, Leo was unemployed again, and Chloe's online brand wasn't generating enough income to even cover their rent. I bought him a reliable used truck for a delivery gig he was considering. The title was in his name, but the monthly payments came directly from my bank account. When the transmission blew 7 months later, he just asked for another car. I didn't even bother asking what happened. I just stopped asking questions. The Seaside cottage came onto my radar through a client who was developing luxury coastal properties. It was a beautiful little place, tucked away at the end of a private road in Monterey Bay, with stone accents and a huge wraparound deck overlooking the ocean. It was listed for $550,000. When I showed the listing photos to my dad, I saw a light in his tired eyes that I hadn't seen in years. My mom gently traced the outline of the kitchen on the brochure with her finger, as if it were a precious artifact. Their 40th anniversary was just around the corner. I wanted this for them. I wanted them to trade their stack of unpaid bills for a view of the sunrise over the Pacific. I handled the purchase with the precision of a military operation. I created an irrevocable trust, naming my parents as the sole lifetime beneficiaries and myself as the trustee, giving me the legal authority to step in and remove anyone who interfered with their exclusive right to the property. The HOA fees were paid in full for the next 20 years, deposited into a separate, dedicated account. The community bylaws were crystal clear. No commercial activity, no short-term rentals, period. I closed the deal, hired a crew to repaint the interior, filled the wine fridge with their favorite local Chardonnay, and left a simple note in the silverware drawer: for quiet mornings and peaceful evenings. Love, Alex. I didn't tell a soul, especially not Leo. On the eve of their anniversary, I drove them up from Bakersfield. It was a 3-hour drive, and my dad gripped the armrest the whole way, his face pressed against the window like a little kid. We pulled up to the cottage just as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Mom stepped out onto the deck, took a deep breath of the salty air, and whispered that it smelled like a new beginning. Dad ran his hand along the stone wall of the fireplace, his voice thick with emotion when he tried to thank me. We shared a bottle of wine on the deck swing, watching the ocean turn to silver under the rising moon. I slept on the sofa that night, just to make sure everything was perfect. The next morning, I hugged them goodbye and caught an early flight to a legal conference in Seattle. The cottage was theirs. The keys were in my dad's pocket. The trust was impenetrable. I thought the hard part was finally over. The first sign of trouble came while I was in the middle of a tense deposition. My phone buzzed, and I saw a call from my mom. Her voice sounded tiny and distant against the formal quiet of the conference room. Chloe had seen a photo my dad posted on his Facebook page. Just a simple, slightly blurry shot of the sunset over the water with the caption, "Our new view." But that was all it took. Using the name of the community association visible on a sign in the background, Chloe had figured out the exact address. Before my parents had even finished their lunch, she, Leo, their son Max, and their hyperactive golden retriever had rolled up the driveway, their SUV packed to the gills. Chloe, of course, was the first one through the door, her phone already out and recording. Leo started hauling professional lighting equipment from the trunk and set it up right in the middle of the living room. Max kicked his muddy shoes off onto the new rug, and the dog immediately started exploring every corner of the house. My dad was just standing there in the kitchen, frozen, his morning coffee cup halfway to his lips. Mom was hovering by the refrigerator, looking lost. Chloe spun the camera around to face her. "Surprise! We're doing a family takeover, announcing our brand new Monterey Bay retreat, launching today." She was snapping pictures of the deck, the ocean view, the quaint furniture, adding filters and posting them in real time. Sitting at the beautiful kitchen island I had imagined my mom using, she typed up a listing for a vacation rental website. $900 a night, with a 2-night minimum and a personally guided tour included. The description she wrote was full of lies, promising exclusive beach access and a sommelier-led wine tasting. The calendar started filling up almost instantly. Weekend groups from the city, bachelorette parties, even corporate getaways. By that evening, the first booking arrived, a party bus lumbering up the private lane. Chloe greeted them at the door wearing a custom apron with her brand logo, pouring them glasses of the expensive Chardonnay I had bought for my parents' anniversary. Leo was by the entrance with a big glass jar labeled Coastal Vibes Fund, collecting cash tips. My dad tried to gently explain that the cottage was a private home, that it belonged to him and Mom, but Chloe just laughed and handed him a broom. "Help us out, Rob. The guests expect 5-star service." Mom suggested they should at least wait for me to get back. Chloe just waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, Alex is always buried in work. It's time for the rest of the family to generate some revenue." That night, they kicked my parents out of the master bedroom. They made my dad drag a dusty old cot from a storage closet out to the garage. It was a cold, damp space with concrete floors and no insulation, smelling of gasoline and salt. My mom quietly folded their clothes into a plastic storage bin, her eyes fixed on the ground. Max set up his video game console in the master bedroom, and the dog made itself at home on the new sofa. Chloe posted a selfie from the deck, holding a glass of wine with the caption, "Boss Babe Making It Happen." I saw Leo's comment underneath it almost immediately. Finally, a business that doesn't rely on Alex's guilt money. My dad sent me a single understated text. "Things are a little strange here." It was followed by one from my mom. "They say it's just for the weekend. Please don't worry, honey." I was in my hotel room in Seattle preparing for the final day of the conference, and I tried to ignore the messages at first, but a gnawing feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. Around midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened the vacation rental app on my phone, and there it was, the oceanfront experience, a luxury Monterey escape. The photos were sickening. There was Chloe lounging on the deck swing in a bikini. There was Leo toasting with a group of complete strangers. The booking calendar was completely blocked out for the next 3 months. The payment was being routed to a bank account I recognized as Chloe's. The reviews were already glowing. The hosts are so attentive and fun, a real hidden gem. I felt a cold dread wash over me as I scrolled through the guest list. There were over 20 people scheduled to check in the very next day. The cottage, the sanctuary I had poured my heart and savings into, now had a lockbox on the door, the code publicly posted for anyone to see. Another text from Dad came through. "It's cold in the garage." Then a voice note from Mom, her voice a fragile whisper. "They changed the Wi-Fi password. We can't get online." I just stared at my phone screen until the words started to blur, my thumb hovering over the call button, but I knew talking wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I booked the first flight back to Monterey. The rental car was waiting for me. As the plane was still taxiing on the runway, Chloe posted a new story, a video of champagne glasses clinking on the deck. The text overlay read, "Manifesting our generational wealth." I landed in Monterey just as the sun was beginning to set, the keys to my rental already in my hand. The drive through the winding coastal roads felt like an eternity. Instead of using the main entrance to the community, I turned onto a narrow service lane I had noted on the original property maps, a dirt path that the tourists never saw. I parked my car behind a row of large water tanks, grabbed my briefcase, and let myself in through a locked employee gate. The air was filled with the sounds of loud music and fake laughter. I could hear Chloe's voice, amplified by a portable speaker, rattling off some nonsense about the local marine life. Leo was standing by a folding table near the entrance, neatly stacking bills into his tip jar. About a dozen strangers were milling around the living room with plastic cups of wine, nodding along to Chloe's spiel. And then I saw them. My mom was at the sink, her knuckles white as she scrubbed a glass that was already clean. My dad was sitting on a small stool in the corner, just staring at the floor, looking completely defeated. I walked across the room and placed my briefcase on the kitchen island with a loud, deliberate thud. The music screeched to a halt. The conversations died. Chloe lowered her speaker. Leo instinctively shoved a wad of cash into his pocket. My mom froze, her hand still in the sink, and my dad looked up. For a split second, I saw a flicker of relief in his eyes. Chloe was the first to recover, forcing a tight, plastic smile. "Alex, what a surprise! We're just synergizing our family assets. We're thinking of it as a joint venture. The elders get a revenue share, of course." I didn't smile back. I just flipped the latches on my briefcase. "A family asset," I said, my voice dangerously calm, "requires family consent." I pulled out the first document and laid it on the island. The recorded deed of trust, the county clerk's stamp still fresh. Lifetime beneficiaries, Robert and Susan Pierce, with exclusive right of occupancy, no subletting. Leo scoffed. "Oh, come on, it's just paperwork." I placed the second document next to it, a copy of the Homeowners Association bylaws, with a specific clause highlighted in yellow. Commercial activity of any kind is strictly prohibited. Violation results in immediate fines and potential expulsion from the community. Chloe's eyes narrowed. "We aren't running a business. We're enhancing the property's value. These are educational tours." The third item wasn't a paper document. It was my phone. I laid it on the counter and brought up an email chain I had started on the flight over. The recipient was the Legal and Safety Department of the rental website. Attached were the deed, the bylaws, and screenshots of her illegal listing. The subject line was clear: immediate takedown request, unauthorized commercial use and fraudulent listing. I tapped the screen. They've already flagged the account. Suspension is pending. Leo took a step toward me, his false confidence starting to crack. "You can't do this. You can't just..." I cut him off by pressing play on an audio file. It was a voice memo I'd found from months ago, a recording of Chloe talking to one of her friends. Her voice filled the silent room. "It's so easy. She'll cave if Mom starts to cry. She always does. Her guilt is basically my currency." A heavy, suffocating silence fell over the room. The cheap plastic cup in my mom's hand fell into the sink with a clatter. My dad pushed his stool back, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. Chloe's face went white. She lunged for my phone, but I slid it out of her reach. "The president of the HOA, Mr. Davenport, is waiting at the main gate. He's on speakerphone with the county zoning office right now. All it takes is one nod from Dad, and he's sending security to escort everyone off the premises." For the first time all evening, my dad stood up straight. His voice was quiet, but it was steady. "This is my house." Chloe's face was a rapid-fire progression of shock, desperate calculation, and finally, pure rage. "You're sabotaging us. This is sabotage." Leo crumpled a $20 bill in his fist. "We put time into this. We have equity." I calmly closed my briefcase. "Pack your lights. Take down the listing. Refund every single booking. Now. Or Mr. Davenport files the official violation report, and the HOA board will vote to have the trust evicted tomorrow morning." A guest near the door whispered to her friend that they should probably leave. Chloe shot her a venomous glare before turning back to me. "You're tearing this family apart." No, I said, looking straight at my mom. I'm enforcing the boundaries of the one I tried to protect. It's your call, Mom. She looked from Chloe's furious face to my determined one. Then she took a deep breath. Enough, she said. It's enough. The speaker crackled as Chloe angrily shut it off. Leo kicked the leg of the folding table, sending the empty tip jar skittering across the floor. Their son, Max, appeared in the doorway, his headphones hanging around his neck, sensing the dramatic shift in the atmosphere. The dog started whining from the deck. I dialed Mr. Davenport's number. It was still open. "We're ready," I said. A moment later, bright headlights swept across the windows as two golf carts, their security logos glowing in the twilight, pulled up to the cottage. Mr. Davenport's security team was nothing if not efficient. Two uniformed guards stepped out of the lead cart, clipboards ready. Mr. Davenport himself followed, giving my dad a respectful nod. Chloe's party speaker sat on the counter, now a silent testament to her failed venture. I pointed to the gray lockbox mounted near the front door. "Deactivate it, clear all the codes." One of the guards pulled out a master device, scanned the lockbox, and within seconds, it was wiped. Chloe's phone buzzed with an alert. Access denied. Leo was frantically patting his pockets. "Wait, we have our stuff inside." "Then I suggest you get it," I said, turning my attention to the open laptop on the island. Chloe's vacation rental dashboard was still glowing on the screen. Using the trusty administrative access I had built into the account, I logged in. Right there, in front of everyone, I navigated to her listing. I clicked pause bookings, then remove listing. A confirmation box popped up. Property delisted. All future guests will be notified and refunded. The first refund processed instantly. $900 zapped back to the bachelorette party. I systematically went down the list of reservations, clicking Issue Full Refund on every single one. Automated messages flew out. Host has canceled your reservation due to an unforeseen issue. The property is no longer available. Chloe watched the numbers on her payout summary plummet, the color draining from her face. Max slunk out of the bedroom, his cheeks bright red, stuffing video game controllers into his backpack. He wouldn't look at anyone as he grabbed a half-eaten bag of potato chips from the coffee table. The dog, confused but excited, bounded after him, barking at the security guard's boots. My mom stepped forward, a final, desperate plea in her eyes. "Alex, can't we just talk about this? Please." My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "The time for talking ended years ago, Mom. Boundaries are not up for negotiation." Mr. Davenport flipped open his clipboard. "Violation report," he read aloud. "Unauthorized commercial activity. Forcible displacement of legal beneficiaries." He handed the form and a pen to my dad. "Sign here to confirm the complaint." Dad took the pen. This time, his hand didn't shake. He signed his name with a firm, decisive stroke. Mr. Davenport countersigned it. "This will be filed with the board first thing in the morning. Fines begin accruing at midnight." In a last-ditch effort, Chloe snatched her phone and pointed it at my mom, who had started to cry softly. "Perfect," Chloe sneered, trying to frame the shot. "Elder abuse. This will make a great story." "That's called defamation," I said, stepping directly into the camera's view. "I have a cease and desist letter already drafted in my briefcase. One more post, and you'll be served." She glared at me, her thumb hovering over the record button, before finally lowering the phone. Leo furiously zipped up a duffel bag he'd pulled from under a chair. He yanked the cottage key from his pocket and, with a grunt of frustration, hurled it out into the darkness of the dunes. We watched it flash once in the porch light before it was gone. The remaining guests shuffled out in an embarrassed silence, muttering apologies as they climbed back onto their party bus. The engine rumbled to life, and its taillights soon disappeared down the private road. I started to clean up the mess. I rolled up the cheap vinyl banner that had Chloe's smiling face on it and shoved it into the trash can. I found a clean cloth and wiped the lipstick stains off the bathroom mirror. My mom silently handed me a broom, and I swept up the corks and confetti that littered the floor. Max hauled the last of the lighting equipment to their SUV, the cords dragging behind him. The dog jumped into the back seat, still barking. Chloe paused at the door. You'll regret this. You're isolating them from their family." "They're not isolated," I said, walking over to the internet router and resetting it to the original password. "They're home." Leo slammed the trunk shut. Chloe got into the passenger seat without another word, and the door thudded closed. The SUV's engine roared, kicking up dust and gravel as it sped away. "Mister?" Davenport watched them go, then tipped his hat to my dad before heading back to his cart. My mom let out a long, shaky breath, her shoulders slumping in relief. Dad leaned against the kitchen counter, his eyes scanning the now empty, quiet room. I neatly stacked the refund confirmations into a manila folder and slid it into my briefcase next to the trust documents. The only sounds left were the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the first chirps of the evening crickets. The cottage was finally quiet. Before the sun even rose the next morning, my phone lit up the dark guest room where I'd finally crashed. A flood of TikTok notifications. Chloe had gone live from a seedy-looking motel room, a sad vineyard filter plastered over the featureless wall behind her. Her eyes were swollen, her voice trembling with practiced victimhood. My own sister stole our parents' dream. She sobbed to her phone. She evicted us in front of complete strangers, all because she needs to control everything. The hashtags were already spreading like wildfire. Sister betrayal, family greed, vineyard theft. The comment section was a torrent of outrage and misplaced sympathy. I took a screenshot of the entire stream and forwarded it to my firm's top media attorney. My note was short. Prepare cease and desist for defamation and harassment. Expedite. The draft was on my desk within an hour, complete with timestamps of her fabricated claims and a formal demand for immediate takedown. My partner had it filed and served via certified mail before lunch. Leo sent a text from a coffee shop, clearly using their free Wi-Fi. Headed to an interview in San Diego. Warehouse Logistics. Solid company. Don't you dare sabotage this for me. I did a quick search for the company's HR portal and anonymously forwarded the link to Chloe's live stream. The subject, FYI, potential hire involved in public online dispute. The automated reply came back minutes later. Thank you for the information. Application has been paused pending further review. Chloe, realizing her sob story was dead in the water, tried a different tactic. She created a new, anonymous profile and relisted the cottage using the photos she had stolen, dropping the price to lure in last-minute travelers. But Mr. Davenport was already one step ahead. His daily scan of local listings flagged the ad. He cross-referenced the photos with the community's private database, and the HOA board held an emergency virtual vote. The result was a permanent revocation of her ability to list any property in the community and an IP ban to prevent future attempts. I compiled a digital dossier, the fake account data, the metadata from the photos matching her old profile, the prior violation reports, and uploaded it all directly to the rental platform's highest-level enforcement team. They terminated the profile, reversed the few payments she'd received, and permanently blacklisted her user ID. My dad sent me a photo. A single rose from the small garden my mom had started, its petals a deep, rich crimson. There was no caption, none was needed. Mom sent one a few minutes later, just her feet dangling off the edge of the deck, a glass of orange juice in her hand, the endless green of the cypress trees stretching out before her. I muted the extended family group chat, set it to do not disturb, and let the accusatory voice notes from cousins pile up, unlistened to. Leo tried to video call me from the road, but I declined and sent a simple text back. Handle your own problems. The official notice from the HOA arrived in the mail, its seal printed in bold. Dad pinned it to the refrigerator door like a trophy. Mom started experimenting with her own small batches of lemonade, infusing it with herbs from her garden. Dad found an old radio in the garage and spent an afternoon tuning it until the static gave way to a clear classical music station. I set up geo-fenced alerts on the property that would ping my phone if any unfamiliar vehicle approached the main gate. Chloe's online presence fizzled out. Leo's job search stalled. the viral fallout making him unemployable. The digital storm had passed, leaving the cottage clean and the air crisp with a sense of renewal. I archived the old, angry emails and cleared out the noise. My mom sent a new photo, the deck swing, now occupied by a book open on her lap. Dad sent one of his own, his old tools, cleaned and laid out neatly, ready for a small repair job. There was a quiet satisfaction in the frame. Chloe filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. With no community property left, Leo didn't contest it. He crashed on a friend's couch back in Bakersfield. I hired a discreet security firm to install motion-triggered cameras along the property line, their lenses hidden inside custom-made birdhouses. The live feed streamed directly to a tablet on the kitchen counter that Mom had labeled Bird Watch. One crisp evening, months later, I stood outside on the stone path, watching them through the glass of the sunroom. Dad had put on an old record, a song from their wedding. Mom got up from her chair and took his hand. They swayed together slowly in the center of the room, her head resting on his chest, his hand firm and steady on her waist. The golden light from the lamp spilled out onto the floor, the dark silhouettes of the trees framing them like a perfect living portrait. Boundaries aren't a form of cruelty. I see that now. They are the essential framework for a love that's meant to last. For years, I truly believed that money could be the glue that held our fractured family together, that every wire transfer was another stitch, closing a wound. But I learned that stitches just rot when the wound is constantly being torn open again. It wasn't money that fixed this, it was precision. It was paperwork. It was the clarity of saying no and the power of refusing to finance someone else's chaos. This little cottage on the coast is thriving now, not because of the money I spent on it, but because entitlement was finally evicted. Family isn't a transaction on a balance sheet. It's a garden. You can either tend to it with care, or you can let the weeds take over. Ours finally grows calm and contentment, its roots sunk deep into soil that is no longer poisoned by greed. A gift should be a ladder, not a safety net. And peace, I've learned, is earned one locked gate, one deleted contact, and one quiet, honest sunset at a time.